Hello everyone and welcome to round 2 of the IRL Xbox division here in Belgium. The country features 3 languages, Dutch, French, and German, all official of the country, but the only language we'll be speaking here today is racing. Around 22 laps of this 4.3 mile circuit here at Spa with speeds up to 218 miles an hour. Features 2 DRS zones and a turn 1 of La Sauce that always is fun to watch, especially on the first lap. We've seen many incidents through there. Another corner that is, well, rather well known for its incidents, Eau Rouge and Radion, and we've seen many drivers struggle through that section of the track. But if you get past there, you head into the Kemmel Straight, where many overtakes can be done through that first DRS zone of the lap. We have the softs, the mediums, the hards. The mediums about a second slower, and the hards about 2 seconds slower than the softs. We shouldn't be seeing the hards, but you never know. With a few safety cars around here, it should be a soft to medium strategy, but there's always a chance for rain. As things stand, DJ Danny and Renault sit atop the championship with Scartrix in second. We'll get to that. We had a little bit of controversy at the end of last week's race. We'll cover that here in a second, but Racing Point with a strong showing see themselves in second place in the Constructors. I'm joined alongside by Kendo once more, and Spa is always a place where it's just a fun race to watch.
It most certainly is, and as you've already talked about, that famous upper bank on Rouge and into Radion. I know it's a little bit of a... It goes to show the fact that on this track, as a lot of guys know within the F2, it was a very unfortunate incident, as we all know. Unfortunately, thoughts and prayers and condolences do go out and on who bet within that. Just goes to show that turn can be a nasty one. So again, a lot of drivers are going to have to be aware, especially the drivers who are in the mid-pack, as to what's going to go on.
Well, let's go over the end of last week's race. So if you missed out on last week's race, you can go back, you can watch the highlights on the YouTube channel. You can also watch the whole race as well, but we'll cover the last little bit. It was DJ Danny lagging out about halfway through the race and rejoining, thankfully, a couple laps later. And our timing screens indicated that Scartrix in first place was carrying a 3-second time penalty, and DJ Danny having none. However, when the two drivers crossed the line, it was still Scartrix in front, and DJ Danny had not surrendered 3 seconds to the Haas. So DJ Danny has been awarded the win by the stewards after the race. So him and Renault, his teammate Rimac, sitting atop their respective championships. Scartrix in second place. I think we were both confused at the end of last week, but I think this week is going to be a lot more straightforward.
Certainly was. It was a good communication within the podium interviews as well. There was a good discussion going on there. Even the drivers were confused. That was for sure. But as you say, the stewards had a look at that, and the right order was eventually sorted out. Let's hope that there isn't any more sort of glitches and errors happening within the game again. Let's hope for an excellent race, considering as once we're about to get underway. Who are you going to be jumping on first?
We're still loading into this one here. The Ferraris have come into this one with a decent bit of confidence. We'll get the weather report here for you shortly. It looks like we're going to have a full dry qualifying, which we always want to see. We want to see drivers at their best, but the Ferraris always fancy their chances around this track with their straight line speed, especially in Leclerc 16 in that Ferrari, who is rather known for his low downforce setups.
Most certainly is, and the fact that you do need that low downforce to be able to get that very high speed going after En Rouge into that long straight. That's where a lot of the overtakes are going to happen, especially with that DRS detection point. Will they be able to take advantage or have they set the car for sector 2, which is the very tight corners? It all depends on how the drivers feel.
Well, we do have the weather report in. A full dry race, which is, I think, what we wanted to see. Even though rain can spice things up, this track alone can provide itself its own entertainment. We're on board here with James F1, who unfortunately had a little incident last week in Abu Dhabi. Still managed to recover fairly well and get himself into a points scoring position, finishing 6th last week at Abu Dhabi, crashing out in qualifying. He's going to look to really right the ship here, and as he comes around in Sector 2, he's everybody out on the soft tire, bar DJ Danny and Jamie29 in that Mercedes. Mercedes not doing all that great last week. They actually have a replacement driver as well this week in Mats, and he's going to be looking as a reserve driver to really make a name for himself here in this championship. But as James coming around, and he's rather slowly coming up to the bus stop chicane. Kendo, if you want to take us for a lap around Spa.
Yeah, I'll just get myself on board myself. So as you can see, he's just setting himself up, getting ready to go, making sure the drivers ahead of him is all nice and clear. And here we go. First lap on board with James, getting all the way to that left-hand side as tight as he can. Because the wider the angle, the faster you can get traction and onto the throttle. Now let's see how aggressive he goes into this turn. Really, that was full throttle. That just goes to show the commitment from James. Keeps it nice and tight on this right hand side. Hooks it up. Just kisses the curbs ever so slightly, and that's what you need. Goes a little bit deep into that one. However, he hooks it up very nice, going down the hill. Now let's see if he keeps it in 7, or does he drop to 6? He drops to 6, so he gets a little bit more traction into the turn. Then he immediately went up to 7th. Now this is where time can be won and lost depending on setups. Keeping it very, very tight, using as much track as he can. As you can see, it is currently a purple sector 2. But bear in mind, he is one of the first drivers to be out on track setting this lap. So he's going flat out, coming into the very tight last 2 turns. Using them gears to break it down, very, very aggressive. And as he gets ready to cross the line, he sets a 1:43.2. So that's the benchmark for the rest of the field.
We'll hop on board with Jamie29. He's actually abandoned his lap. 2 Alfa Romeos look like they're about to cross the line as well. Both coming 2 and 3. We've actually already lost a McLaren. It was a replacement driver this week in that McLaren. PJ has unfortunately already been lost from this session. We have a few more drivers out on laps as well. Let's get on board with DJ Danny on the medium tires, coming through the bus stop chicane right now. What can he do? He's actually invalidated his lap, so he'll probably be looking to do another lap. James F1 still holding that pole position, but Lee in that Red Bull right on his heels, about 6/10 off of his time. Then you see the gap to all the way down to Miles, who's, as we saw before last week, starting on those hard tires. So he always likes to set himself a banker lap on those. We'll stay on board here with our championship leader, DJ Danny. A few more times come in. The Toro Rossos last week, Kendo, I don't think we expected such a strong showing, but they'll be looking to follow up Abu Dhabi with another good showing here.
Most certainly is, and as you say, with the Toro Rossos in the form of, you've got Maniac, who I have seen as being quite a strong driver, but Liverpool Ewan is as well. Oh,
hold that thought real quick, because we've had an incident between the Red Bull of HK and the Ferrari of Ricciardo, and it's actually given HK a 5-place grid penalty before he's even set a lap. So we haven't talked about Red Bull yet, but now is a good time to do so. We saw them the middle of the race last week. They had such a great run for about the first half to 2/3 of that race, entangling down at turns 7 and 8 in Abu Dhabi. And Kendo, is that going to be something that we continue to see here today?
Now, after this is a conversation that I was having within Discord with HK straight after the race. He was saying he needs to make sure he cuts out these mistakes because, as we well know, as he said himself, Danny is a very, very strong driver, and he rarely makes mistakes. So HK has to be able to cut out them mistakes, because as you've seen, it's going to cost him. He's going to lose 5-place penalty because of that incident, and he needs to cut them out if he wants to stand a chance of beating Danny in this championship. Because so far, it's shown that Danny has shown he is capable of winning this championship once again. However, the teamwork has to now come into play with the Red Bulls, with both of the DXT guys of Lee and HK. They'll need to work out a plan now based on HK's penalty.
Well, you can see the difference of the hard tire, just the pace around here. DXT Miles with a 145.1 on the hards. Scartrix sitting at 147.1, so definitely not the lap he was looking for. We're right on board here with the Toro Rosso of Maniac. He is currently the lead car out on track from what I'm seeing here. I believe DJ Danny is on an in-lap on those medium compound of tires. He's currently sitting 6th. But we still are waiting for about half the field to set times, and we're already under the 10-minute mark. There's a whole host of traffic heading into the 2nd and 3rd sectors, which may have put a few drivers off, and just saw them head into the pit lane prematurely. You can see here Toro Rosso getting great straight line speed, nearly 210 miles an hour you see there. Comes through this section of corners, actually goes fastest in the 1st sector. Can he keep this pace up? The slipstream as well, extremely powerful around here. We could see the likes of Racing Point, Toro Rosso, and Ferrari getting good use out of that Renault as well. As all drivers on good terms with their teammates and leagues before and in races prior. They'll be possibly looking to boost their qualifying chances here, but we're still on board with Maniac at the moment, as he does well to actually just use as much curb as possible coming out of that corner, and is still on pace for a great lap here. Doesn't quite get the fastest middle sector, but he's going to look to make amends, and you do get a great slipstream here, which he is slightly getting from the Red Bull that's just ahead of him. Hopefully that doesn't impede too much of his progress. Looks like the Red Bull is actually going to be on a lap of his own here. He should be clear of his sister team, but as the Toro Rosso rather comes across the line, and he goes 10th fastest. So after setting the 1st sector alight, can't quite make up for it on the rest of the track in a while. We've seen, I believe that was Fair Motive, head up into the top 10, and with DJ Danny as well, still sitting in that 6th position. So here is Ferrari out on track on his 1st lap as well. We still don't have laps from the likes of Liam Hardman, Leclerc, Mecca, Ricardo, Rimac, HK, which we saw earlier pick up a 5-place grid penalty, and Jamie 29, who is still in the pit lane on the medium tires. just as I say that, Rimac has set the time 9th fastest for Renault. So the two Renaults leading the championship, only 6th and 9th right now.
And as you can see on stream, you've got Ricciardo is being very aggressive here in Sector 2. He's using as much curb as he possibly can. Now, it's the same sort of situation with is the HK. Ricciardo is known to be quite a quick driver, however, his aggression can catch him out. So he'd be looking to improve on his consistency along the track throughout the race. And as you can see, he's coming into the final 2 turns. Let's see what time he sets out.
He's going to run across the line, and he will go 9th fastest. His teammate is also out on a lap as well. Looks like we're waiting for one of the Red Bulls to come across the line now. I believe that is HK. It is indeed. What can he come up with after a disappointing Abu Dhabi? As we mentioned, he goes 2nd fastest, so beating his teammate by over 5/10 of a second. Only less than a tenth off, less than half a tenth off of the pole sitter James F1 at the moment. So much like last week, Kendo, a great start so far for Red Bull, and so far it definitely comes with an asterisk.
It most certainly is, but bear in mind, guys, as we've already mentioned before, HK does have a 5-place grid penalty, so he will be looking to try and secure that pole position in qualifying, so then he reduces the amount he drops down the field. So do bear that in mind, guys. Wherever he goes, he loses 5-place grid penalty. As Leclerc, as we think, talking about HK, has just crossed the line and set a 144.3, which moves him up to 9th at the moment. But currently only one person still to set a lap, and that is Jamie 29, who's currently on an out lap. About to start his hot lap, to say, actually.
We're right on board with the Mercedes drivers on the medium. He's actually on the softs on our screen, his timing charts. As you can see there on the left, actually showing the medium, so it could just be a graphical glitch. Hopefully it is, but you see him coming up Eau Rouge through Radion onto the Kemmel straight, and the Mercedes really looking to get their first haul of points for the season. It wasn't the best of showings from Mercedes last week. Both of them, actually, Jamie 29 not making it to the end, but Matt's stepping in for the replacement. Mercedes he needs to, what do Mercedes need to do to actually just start to get some points together, start working their way into this championship?
Well, obviously they'll need to figure out their strategy based on who will be the #1 driver, who will be the #2. For myself, if it was me coming in as a reserve driver, would try and play a support role, if at all possible. So at the moment, if Jamie does climb up and just be behind Matt, potentially a case of working together, pull each other forward instead of trying to battle the way through. Because sometimes it's not a case of about ability, it's about teamwork. And that's the most important thing in Formula 1, being able to work together and not try and battle out as we have known drivers in the past do. For example, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, fine examples, and you know exactly what happened in them battles. One of them ended up coming off worse.
Well, we saw there Jamie 29 actually on the soft tires, so what you saw on your screen was slightly incorrect. We're on board now with Rimac. We're actually going to try and see if we can find the Toro Rosso who's out on track. He's actually wound up in the wall, so somehow Maniac has lost the car and actually lost about half of his front wing, spinning into the wall. So about 2.5 minutes to go here in qualifying. Does the Toro Rosso have time to get in, change his wing, strap on another set of tires, and get out for another lap? I don't think he's going to, but 18th place qualifying is not the way they wanted to follow up their first round.
Certainly not, and like you say, there's no chance that he's going to be able to get out, and as he's rightly done, just called it quits and retired right there. He's just got to now refocus his mindset, getting himself ready for the start of the race.
We're on board here with Rimac, who's first out of the final runners. So Renault really fancying their chances with the track at this stage. Track evolution is still pretty powerful around here, but the issue is that he doesn't have anybody to tow him down the Kemmel Straight, where you can gain almost 3 or 4 miles an hour by doing so, but he's done well to get his top speed where he wants it to be, 210 miles an hour as well for the Renault, setting actually the fastest first sector. But how long will that stand? He actually has an Alfa Romeo right behind him, and he's could be coming up to a little bit of traffic. As you see, that traffic on the mini-map on the right side of your screen is a collection of 4 cars. It looks like 2 Williams and 2 Ferraris, so they could all be getting a tremendous slipstream down the main straight.
Most certainly does, and you've got just in front of Rimac as well, you've got Scartrix, who is currently on his outlap as well, so he'll be getting ready to set his lap. And as you can see, the Ferrari boys and the Williams have started to split, so you can see most certainly that tour is going to take place.
Now we're still on board with Rimac here. What can he do to set his time? Where will he end up in this qualifying? He's in 13th place currently. He's got a 144.7. Can he better that? He does indeed. 6th place for Renault, actually ahead of his teammate currently. Murphy right on his heels, and actually it was DXT Miles who's right behind him, and he sees himself go all the way up to 3rd place, and Leclerc has actually he's the wrong thing, going a little bit too fast.
Yeah, he completely hit the, as he's going up the first turn up the hill, he's completely gone pretty much his tyres on the grass, and that has started the tumble effect of him swerving side to side, and once that happens, you've gone, and he's gone into the left wall. And as you can see, I don't know from the drivers have already ran past, but his car's now just slowly but surely moving across the track and can potentially put off a couple of drivers.
Now on with the Alfa Romeo of Murphy, who will be next to cross the line. He's actually going to head into the pit lane, so no more lap for him. What can Liverpool Ewan do? He goes. DJ Danny now setting the fastest time. Can James F1 in that racing point better his time? He's going to cross the line, and he will have pole position unless Rimac has something to say about it. But I think Rimac has already set his lap. Fairmoto be into the pit lane. It will be James F1 on pole position, barring.
And just off stream as well, Ricardo has got himself into P11. He was down in P15 for time of a 1:44.1. So he will be the, as I would say, best of the rest, being able to have the choice of tyres at the start of a race.
Well, DJ Denny getting in that 2nd place, just adding to the misery of HK with that 5th-place grid penalty. Is going to see him all the way down in the 8th place. Everybody who's behind him will be promoted ahead of him. So as things end up, it will be James F1, who crashed out in qualifying last week, finishing 6th place. Now sees himself on pole position ahead of championship leader DJ Danny. It will be DXT Miles that actually takes 3rd place. He'll be accompanied by James's teammate Aiden Serge Sharks in that racing point. The Toro Rosso of Liverpool Ewan will join DXT Lee on that 3rd row, along with Rimac and HK will be sat next to each other on the grid due to HK's 5-place grid penalty. You can see confirmation of it there. Jamie 29 with a much better qualifying than last week, ahead of Ricardo, who we saw tangling with HK there in the qualifying. The first of the Williams, Faramoto, sees himself in 12th place. He'll be accompanied by the McLaren of Mecca. Leclerc, who crashed out in this qualifying on his final run, finds himself in 14th, and the step-in Mercedes of Mats is in 15th, and Liam Hardman in that Haas down in 16th, and McCrick of the Williams as well in 17th position, and Scartrix, who couldn't quite contend with his pace last week at Abu Dhabi, but he is starting, actually has a free tire choice, but he did his qualifying session on the hard compound of tires. Couldn't quite follow up last week for the Haas, with PJ in the McLaren. Rounding things out at the back, it is a little bit cloudy here for the start of this race, but I had confirmation beforehand, Kendo, no rain in the forecast. We are clear to race.
Rain. I know it usually says that, but I have known in the past it can spice things up, because you can see the clouds are overhead, so we could potentially see that rain try and sneak in and try and add a little bit of spice into it. However, let's hope it's not. Let's hope for a dry race and some very exciting racing, especially going up on Rouge and Radion.
Well, adding insult to injury to HK, he doesn't even get a free tire choice. So not only is he demoted from the 3rd position that he qualified down into 8th place, but he doesn't even get a free tire choice or a fresh set of soft tires.
Yeah, it certainly is. But one thing that has benefited him a little bit, he is alongside, if I'm not mistaken, his teammate. So at that point in time, they can work together to bend and consolidate their positions within the field and be able to then work together to move up the field. So on one flip of the coin, it's been a disadvantage, but on the other, they might be able to work a lot more together at the start of the race.
Well, he'll be partnered on the grid by Rimac, and with the Renault essentially is going to be in a Red Bull sandwich of Lee and HK, and could that play into the hands not only of James F1 but DJ Danny, Rimac's teammate as well, just keeping those Red Bulls at bay, who we know are quick, but it could be even more of a concern for Danny with Miles and Sharks up there along with the likes of him, with the Racing Points currently 2nd in the championship, putting on a great showing here after a somewhat disappointing one last week.
Exactly right. And end of the day, it's the fact that it is still very early days in the championship. Even though a lot of the drivers are saying it's Danny's to lose, that's what the feeling is amongst the drivers, especially the likes of HK. Can Danny keep his nose out of situations? But at the same time, the drivers that are behind have got to have that positivity and being able to put the pressure on Danny, and let's see if the rest of the field can back themselves and get themselves further up the field to try and gain them extra points and put pressure on Danny in the championship.
Well, as we are about to head around this formation lap, we'll be mindful of the fact that it's 4.3 miles. We could see a few incidents on this formation lap should people not be as careful as they need to be. But in terms of a performance where you need to see more from a team, Kendo, who are you looking to see more from in this race here at Spa?
Well, the two teams I'm going to be keeping an eye out on is, one is definitely going to be the team of James and Sir Sharks, and alongside Lee and HK, which they are going to be fairly close together on the grid. James and Sir Sharks as P1 and P4, with Lee and HK P6 and P8. Will they be able to work together and move themselves into a advantageous position, or will situations prevent that from happening? If it does play out in the favour, I do think the Red Bull guys will move further up the field from where they are. However, it all depends on that crucial start and going up on Rouge as to what will happen. We will find out on Rouge.
Well, we already have 3 cars, as you see, they're stranded on the grid. If things couldn't get any worse, HK won't have the opportunity to warm up those tires and warm up those brakes. He's accompanied by an Alfa Romeo and a Williams behind him, so it'll lead you to think something happened as the green light went on to commence the formation lap between those 3 drivers. As I mentioned before, as they all started to pull away, you just need to be careful on the formation laps.
Well, that's it, considering the fact that warming up the tyres, especially going into the first turn, and even more so going up on Rouge on this track, you've got to have your tyres for the softs. You're looking at just below that 100-degree mark. If you get it just below that, that's an ideal setting. Some people like to say it's going to be 100. However, for myself personally, I find it just below the 100%. If you were on the medium, like the people that are in P18 down to 20, you want to try and get your mediums to around about 90 degrees to be in the prime position for the start of a race. And that's why your formation lap is so important.
Well, the top 17 starting on all of those soft tires, top 3 on the mediums. Lights come on. It's 291 meters down to La Sauce. So lights out and away we go. The Racing Point gets away well. Renault starting to fall back down the field. Will he be overtaken into the first turn? Sir Sharks and Miles already battling this. There's a Racing Point around. There's damage everywhere to every single car. You see them go 4 wide. A 5-second penalty already for Maniac. Miles into third. Ricciardo all the way up into 4th place for Ferrari. So far, James F1 is still out in the lead, but there's already a gap starting to build between the front 3 and the Ferrari, who's trying to shake arms. The virtual safety car has already been deployed, surely for that incident in La Sauce, which we mentioned beforehand is always a culprit of many of incidents. And if we can go down the field here to see who exactly might be pitting here. So we're under green once more. Jamie 29 getting a great run off of the virtual safety car for Mercedes. Hasn't taken damage himself, but the biggest loser in that incident was Sir Sharks. It doesn't look like he has much wing damage, but he was facing the wrong direction there for a second as the Williams now is out of the race into the wall. Get a chance to see what happened there. Murphy now all over the back of the Red Bull. Will he have a little look at him? No, he won on this occasion, but he is still all over that Honda gearbox. It's actually the fastest middle sector off of the virtual safety cars. Mecca and McLaren falling further and further down the field. Leclerc up into 12th position, but so far his counterpart and teammate in Ricciardo into 4th place, doing so well to get himself there after a relatively mediocre qualifying. We've done 1 lap here, which featured already a few instances. You see there the Red Bull into the pits, Toro Rosso into the pits. And that could lend itself to a few hard tire changes and see what they all go on. But DJ Danny will have a great slipstream as many more drivers head into the pits, likes of Liam Harmon, Matt HK into the pit lane as well. So things not off to a great start for anybody with a Honda engine. As you see DJ Danny trying to get the move done down the Kemmel straight. DJ Danny has the move done, but they're still wheel to wheel and confirms that move into chicane. So a great section of Scartrix now out of this race in en rouge. So last week's
safety car
has been deployed, bringing those that had to pit for damage on that first lap right back into this race. Already 2 laps in with still 20 laps to go. We have seen plenty of action here. We've already lost last week's podium finisher in Scartrix for Haas. So the 2 teams that can't quite get the ground going for them, the likes of Haas and Red Bull, who have neither driver into the points now as of yet.
Certainly haven't. And just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of the people that have currently stopped and what tyres they decided to go on, as you can see, Liverpool Ewan is the highest person that is.
We've lost
one.
How have we lost Ricardo? We've somehow lost the Ferrari of Ricardo after a fantastic start. We might be able to come around. He's just lost it. He's just lost it heading into the 3rd sector and found himself in the middle of the track in the wall. I have no idea how that's happened. Under safety car conditions, the Ferrari, who had himself a great start off the line, already into 4th place, now finds himself out of this race.
Once again, it's exactly what I referred to before the start of the race. Ricardo is known to be a really good driver, but he is prone to make mistakes. And if you are wanting to battle to win the championship, you've got to eradicate them errors from your arsenal. If you can get rid of them, you have a chance of winning the championship. And that is the difference between the people who are on the top, such as DJ Danny, and the rest of the field. And that's why, as you can see, DJ Danny is currently in the lead of your race, currently under safety car conditions, but it goes to show he's kept his cool. He didn't make any mistakes, and because of that, he's now in P1.
DJ Danny in that first position under the safety car. A few cars also pitted as well. Fairmoto, which we're riding on board with now in that Williams. Lee pitting the lap before. Jamie 29 heading onto the mediums. The only driver out on track on those white-walled hard tires, so he could be clear to go to the end. They won't feel great, but he will definitely make it there, because these medium runners will definitely be needing to pit again. You wonder, Kendo, if they maybe should have just stayed out if they didn't have damage.
That was one of the things I was going to be talking about before we unexpectedly lost Ricardo there. But yeah, we have currently, as you've seen earlier with the stops, you've got people from Fairmoto all the way down to Mecca who has stopped. Liverpool Ewan has had to make 2 pit stops currently. He is currently on the medium. Liverpool Ewan. Fairmoto will, all the medium tyres, I suspect, will have to stop again. But the question will remain, can Lee, as you've talked about, can he get them tyres to the end? More than likely the answer will be yes, but I very much doubt he will be going very, very fast at the end.
Looking at positions gained here, Leclerc more or less making up for his teammates' error, already up into 6th place, getting himself 8 positions, but Maniac into that 8th place to do another lap around this track. Maniac actually now into the pit lane, so I wonder if something happened there under the safety car. He just didn't get into the pit lane in time, but that'll relegate him all the way to the back of the pack. But PJ in that McLaren filling in up into 8th place, getting 12 positions on the opening 3 laps here. So a lot of movers, and actually Sir Sharks, who we saw turning the wrong direction there through Lausanne. The first lap has already made up most of those positions, only losing 3, so he's found himself back up into 7th after being last in this race at a point in time. We'll probably wait yet again for this, for the Toro Rosso of Maniac to catch up once more, but his teammate Liverpool Ewan losing 9 positions there on the opening few laps. We'll just go to the tires here and just see what Maniac went on. He went on to the medium, so he'll be needing to pit yet again as well. So I'm interested to see how these medium runners, Kendo, are going to do once we go green again, and how long they can take these yellow striped tires.
Well, I would very much suspect, as of right now, I would say with probably about 7 or 8 laps to go at the most, they will take the tyres into the race, and then we'll more than likely see the soft tyres coming into play, along with the fact that people within the top 10 will be looking to set the fastest laps, and that's going to be when the tactics are going to come into play based on who wants to go for the fastest lap. And I'll confirm the Maniac, he lost his wing, so he had to get a replacement wing, and at the same time he had to serve a penalty, which is why he's in all the way at the back of the grid.
Well, safety car coming in this lap, and you can see already DJ Danny in that Renault starting to back up the pack. He's going to try and warm up his tires even more as he crawls down this back section of Spa here in Belgium. Already completed 3 laps and already 4 laps in here. We have already had 2 safety cars, but the Renaults, as of now, are in 1st and 4th. Only James F1 and TXT Miles sitting between them. And there goes DJ Danny into the bus stop chicane. Once he crosses the line, we will be green yet again. He's going to extend that lead ever so slightly. We are green once more here at Spa. DJ Danny racing down to Lesage, but James F1 actually getting a great run. Adam Ferramoto already with an overtake on the McLaren of PJ Williams up into 8th place, and Jamie 29 heading up into 9th place. Makes you wonder if TXT Lee made the right call going on those hard tires, but he's definitely good to the end of the race. Now what can James F1 do? So we have Jamie 29 has retired from this session, and it has scrambled things up in the midfield quite a bit. So we can see it already. Eau Rouge is really catching a few drivers out. We lost Mecca and Jamie 29 in that incident. So just a horrendous start to the season for the McLaren driver and the Mercedes driver. Jamie 29 still will not finish a race here so far in IRL, as we still right on board here with DJ Denny. He's only about 3/10 in front of the Racing Point ahead of him. We've completed 4 laps. We're on lap number 5 now as we come through the middle sector. It is so windy, and Liam Hardman in that Haas just laboring at the back of the field. Makes you wonder if he has damage to his wing. He might be seeing the Haas pit crew out here shortly, but this is a section of the track where the Racing Point of James F1 will look to close that gap to DJ Danny and really get in that slipstream and get on that Renault gearbox. In the meantime, the front 3 have pulled definitely a gap to those in front. 1.6 seconds now is Rimac, 2 miles, and you can see just there TXT Elite saying, right, enough with these hard tires. Into the pits goes the Red Bull. HK getting back up into 9th place, nearly where he started. Where will Lee come out? Will he come out ahead of the Haas, who is actually headed into the pit lane himself? But now this could be the section of the track. DRS not enabled as of yet, so he might need that one, does James, to get the run on DJ Danny, but Miles also keeping him company, and now his teammate Murphy has gotten past Rimac into down the Kemmel straight. Sir Sharks, and then Rimac has lost it as well. So somewhere along the line as the safety car comes out yet again. We've also lost Lee as well up Eau Rouge, so we're starting to drop like flies here, Kendo.
I know, I'm absolutely bamboozled with the fact that where Rimac has lost it. He's lost it he looks like he's caught the grass on at the end of Sector 1 after the little chicanes and just gone straight off into the wall on the left-hand side, and I didn't get a chance to have a look to see Lee, where he lost his car. It looked like somewhere in En Rouge, couldn't get any identification as to where it was. Yeah, 14, only 13 drivers left in this race, and it's unreal. We've had 2 safety cars within a space of 6 laps. And just a little bit of information, because a few people have been writing some messages as part of the Jamie 29.
And all of the soft runners are in. Looks like, will the Racing Points try the double stack? This could be interesting to see. He's actually slowed down in the pit lane, so great awareness there from the second Racing Point. His teammate get out in time. You can see him just ahead there getting out. The Racing Point team has perfectly executed the double stack here, getting both of their drivers in and off those soft compound tires. So Sharks will come out right behind Murphy. Both Alfa Romeos also into the pits as well. So Alfa Romeo and Racing Point double stacking their drivers, and HK now has been promoted to the lead of this race, although he does still need to most likely stop once more unless he comes out with, well, some sort of a tire-saving guru here. And PJ, so in the McLaren, the highest the McLaren has been this season, in that second place. He'll be needing to pit as well. But the top 4 at HK, PJ, Matt's, Maniac, all are going to need to pit again at some point. Maniac actually already pitting at one point in this race, so the net leader of the race, more or less, is DJ Danny, barring those top 4 drivers at the front doing anything spectacular. Liverpool Ewan and Liam Hardman in the Toro Rosso and the Haas respectively, staying out on those medium tires, so no more soft runners in this race. Murphy actually picking up a time penalty himself. They've been few and far between have the time penalties, but when they've come out, they've come out at the very most interesting of times, I think is the word to use. I can't really explain any of these time penalties.
Way end of the day, it's a case of, as we've been talking about at the start of the, comes back to being able to have that cool head on you, being able to make the right decisions at the right time at the moment. It looks like a lot of drivers are getting a bit flustered out there. Don't know if it's a case of their teammate have been in a bad position and they're talking to each other, and just a slight little miscommunication or a lack of coordination and viewing what's going on ahead of them. That's what F1's all about. You've got to be able to keep control of what you're doing during every point of the race, and that will be the difference between people who end up coming out on top and those that slowly move down the grid.
We're going to do another lap around this track with the safety car. You can see Matt's in that Mercedes is ready to race. Just going down the list of drivers has already lost. Most Rimac has brought out this safety car. Lee as well in the Red Bull. So horrendous times still for Red Bull. Jamie 29 also exiting this race via Eau Rouge. Mecca also lost it in the same place. Ricardo losing it under the safety car, and Scartrix and Leclerc have also exited this race. And, well, we've already been provided with 3 safety cars, 2 full safety cars, and 1 virtual. So if you're keeping tabs at home, we only have 2 more safety cars on offer. This is being a 50% race, only permitted to have 5 safety cars in a race. So we can still see even more shuffling of the pack and strategic calls later on in this race. But right now it's HK from PJ, from Mats, from Maniac, who have all possibly already made a stop amongst themselves. Maniac, most definitely. PJ, the only person along the front runners who hasn't stopped, actually. HK and Mats both into the pits at some point. Maniac followed them in a few laps later, but as it follows, DJ Denny is currently the only remaining Renault in the race. And there's a lot of solo drivers out there, the likes of DJ Danny, likes of Mats, HK, PJ, Leclerc, Liam Hardman in the Haas safety car coming in this lap, so HK will surely be looking to back this pack up, but Fairmoto also in the points himself for Williams. Be interesting to see what the drivers can do here from this restart. HK already backing the pack up this far back, just letting that safety car come in a little bit quicker than the first restart we saw from DJ Danny's. The safety car just now entering the bus stop chicane. Will be peeling in, as you can see him crank up that MG UK in that Honda-powered Red Bull. PJ has actually picked up a 5-second penalty for a collision. I didn't see a collision, but you're racing yet again. HK gets a great launch off the restart, already nearly a second and a half ahead of the car behind. You can see Matt's going ever so wide there. As they go, are they going to go 3 wide? There's 4 cars having a go at the Mercedes. DJ Danny getting past. You can see 5 cars up through Eau Rouge there. Maniac picking up a time penalty potentially for cutting Eau Rouge as they will all come down the back straight. 2 seconds is the gap between HK and PJ. HK really on those medium tires, a lap newer than the McLaren. This McLaren is doing a great job holding up the rest of these drivers. How long can he keep the likes of Maniac and DJ Danny, James F1 behind him to get to the front of the pack? DJ Danny now having a little look at the Toro Rosso, decides not to do it this time, but actually is going to bring him under attack from James F1. So Sharks now into 8th place, and Murphy on those hard tires may have had an issue, or may just be getting outpaced and outgripped by the yellow striped medium tires. Maniac now still in 3rd position, but is being hunted ever so closely by DJ Danny. We saw the Mercedes and the Alfa Romeo, and the Alfa Romeo of Miles might have a little go. He's shown onto the curb. They're still side by side. Miles not able to get the move on. On this occasion, we've lost the Mercedes of Matt, and will that result in another safety car? Not as of yet. The virtual safety car has been deployed, as you saw. Well, Miles is going to say he didn't give me enough room the turn beforehand, and Matt is going to say he ran me nearly into the wall. That one could be looked at later. As things stand right now, HK with a great lead at the front, 3.5 seconds. He managed all that scrapping back for 2nd place, with PJ Danny and James and Miles and Sharks all trying to get past PJ and Maniac, who stayed out under the last safety car. Held up by those drivers, but we've already lost 8 drivers from this race. Both Mercedes out. It's a double DNF. 4 Mercedes were green yet again. And you can see Maniac there actually getting past PJ. James will get past Danny. It is absolute carnage down in the middle of this pack. Danny is now up in the 4th place past PJ, so this medium tires, 9 laps old, starting to wear away for the McLaren. You see Miles now all over the back of that orange McLaren. Will he be shown the same kind of room that the Mercedes was? He will this time, and will get past the McLaren. A great move there from the Alfa Romeo, but now DJ Danny is all over the gearbox here of the Honda-powered Toro Rosso, Red Bull's sister team. James F1 has actually gotten past Maniac as well, so he is now 5.5 seconds behind HK, but a 5-lap fresher, older tires. He's going to be trying to close that gap and not allow HK to escape lightly. Murphy farther down the field has actually lost Maniac from this race. Another driver crashing out in a place we don't
safety car deployed.
And another safety car, to be a final safety car of the race, has been deployed. We've lost 9 drivers now. 9 drivers here around Belgium as PJ pulls into the pits along with Murphy, who had a hand in that incident, was declared into the pit lane as well. So now it's a point, Kendo, where if you don't finish last, you've scored your team a point.
It certainly is, and at this point in time, I would not like to be that last 11th person who finishes the race. And as you can see, here PJ is just put himself onto the soft tyres, potentially wanting to try and go to the end on that. It is a gamble. I very much doubt he will be able to do that, but we have seen crazier things happen and be tried in the past.
Well, the only teams still with both cars on track are the Racing Points. Teams F1 and Surrey Sharks doing themselves a great job to more or less stay out of trouble. We saw in the turn 1 of lap 1, Surrey Sharks facing the complete opposite direction, watching the traffic go all around him through the sauce. The Toro Rossos have lost their second driver as well, and actually the Alfa Romeos of DXT Miles and Murphy are also the only remaining team to have both cars still on track. We saw Miles get tangled with the Mercedes there, heading through this part of the track and overtaking the maneuver. That saw Mats end up in the wall, losing his left front wheel in the process. And if this benefits anybody, Kendo, it's benefiting the likes of James F1 and DJ Danny, who's HK must have saw the safety car and groaned as he had built himself nearly a 6-second gap at the front.
Oh yeah, for sure, and the fact of the matter is how good of a start he actually did get. So it goes to show, will he be able to do that again under this current safety car, or will James be alert to that attack? Unlike, I do believe it was PJ that was behind HK on the last one, so a little lesson to learn for James to be just a little bit more aware of how HK backs the pack up and then releases compared to how we've seen DJ Danny. He did it a little bit different to HK, but that all comes down to strategies. As you say, we currently only have 2 full teams still in this race, which is the Alfa Romeos, Miles and Murphy, and the Racing Points of James and Sir Shark. But currently in the Constructors battle, they're going to be the people that potentially going to take home a lot of points of their team. However, as it currently stands, HK is currently in the lead.
Well, we saw Leclerc in the pit lane on your left side of the screen. It did show that he was in the pit lane. He might have been serving a drive-through penalty because he hasn't gone off of those 4-lap-old tires. It is now, Kendo, a point where we might see PJ is actually the only driver on the soft compound of tires, but Murphy as well, who pitted under this safety car just the lap before it, head on to fresh mediums as well. Could we see them start to make the charge up the pack, especially for those Liverpool U and Liam Hardman 6-lap-old mediums? Could this be the range where the softs get you to the end of the race?
Very possible, considering it's lap 12 of 22. Usually the soft tyres can last up to around about 10-11 laps, so again, it's all about tyre management. Can you keep control of your tyre temperatures? Can you keep the tyres from degrading at the right pace? It's all about, can they hold it to the end? Tyres can go the distance, but it's all down to how the driver actually uses them tyres as to if it was to the end for them personally. But tyre information suggests yes. But we'll soon find out as we are getting ready to start lap 13 out of 22 under the safety car. And you see Leclerc, well, Liam pitting.
Heading now, so could that possibly prolong this safety car? You should be able to get back up to the queue as well. He's gone on to the hard compound of tires. So an interesting choice down there at Haas.
Interesting.
HK is actually going to want this safety car to stay out as long as possible, try to prolong the life of these medium tires. He's already done 11 laps on them. He pitted within the first 5 laps, and he's done well to actually get them to this point and stay in the lead. He's been the beneficiary of a few timely safety cars, timely virtual safety cars, but now he's going to be having to defend for his life here as James F1 and DJ Danny and Miles and Sharks are all going to be breathing down his neck and breathing down his gearbox. Once we go green once more, the Haas of Liam Hartman has actually caught up to the back of the pack, so we should be seeing the safety car peel in this lap. We haven't heard anything yet, but I would think it should go in this lap. But if you're racing point, this is a fantastic scenario that you see yourself in. You see your lead driver on about half newer medium tires than the leader. You could be on for a race win this season, and you could see your second driver get up into the podium positions as well.
Yeah, completely. In fact, this is what we've been referring to over and over again. It's about keeping consistent, and I do support the fact that Sir Sharks and James will be communicating more than likely in a party. As you've just seen, the safety car has just indicated that it's going to be coming in this lap, and you can start seeing HK's allowing that safety car to get ahead. Let's see when he decides to release the rest of the pack.
Well, he's going a lot slower this time around. He got a great start on the last safety car restart that he got a great jump and was almost 2.5 seconds ahead of the pack by the time we got to the middle sector, courtesy of about 5 cars scrapping for that second place. But now he could be the beneficiary again of 4 cars all going for those podium positions. When will the Red Bull take off? As he does so now into the bus stop chicane, as he did yet again, and James F1 is there to match him and actually gets away well. Ferramoto picks himself up a penalty, as does Liam Hardman, but we're back racing once more at Spa. DJ Danny is probably going to have a look at James F1 into La Sauce, but the Racing Point holding his position, but HK will be coming under attack here as we head into turns 7 and 8 rather. My goodness, it's through that slipstream down the Kemmel Straight, but DJ Danny is going to have potentially a look at the Racing Point, tucks in behind, peels to what becomes the outside, and then quickly the inside. Racing Point with great skill on the brakes there maintains that second position, but the Renault of DJ Danny still all over the back of him, and this is only letting HK get ahead, but Miles also in this conversation as well as falling almost a second back from these second and third drivers here. You can see PJ start to make his way up the field as he does just now, closing in on Murphy yet again in the soft compound of tires. We only have about 8 laps to go here at Spa. We've nearly done as many laps under the safety car than we have done racing. So could this benefit HK in the end? It's only about 7/10, so not as great of a restart for the Red Bull driver. Half a second now, about 2 seconds, separates the top 5 from the rest of the pack, and even 2 seconds after that, so make that about 5 seconds now down to 6th place from the leaders. You see Miles there actually run just ever so slightly wide through the bus stop chicane as we complete lap 14 and head on to lap 15. HK setting the fastest lap on those now 13-lap-old tires, 147.0 for the Red Bull, so trying to maximize as many points as possible is that Honda-powered Red Bull up at the front, trying to make amends for last weekend at Abu Dhabi, where him and his teammate tangled during the race. DRS not active this time around, as Leclerc may have had an incident himself. He has found himself in the wall at Eau Rouge. And does he have damage on that Ferrari? It looks like he might be missing a little bit of his... Actually, he's not missing any of his wing at all. He's somehow just lost the car. Meanwhile, Liverpool Ewan now 3/10 behind Murphy in the Alfa Romeo. And he's going to start coming under attack as well from PJ in that McLaren. He's on the soft compound of tires, which are much, much better than the hard tires of Fairmoto. So could he get past this train? He could see himself all the way up into 6th position. Now Fairmoto is starting to get swallowed up by those on the medium compound of tire. And Liverpool Ewan actually going to come out best of the quartet of cars as they head down into the 3rd sector. Yet again, we've had another Mercedes go off. We've lost 2 cars in that incident as well. I believe we're out of safety cars, so we will continue racing here. Yet again, 9 drivers are remaining. DRS now enabled, and could that allow James F1, as we will keep tabs on this scrap at the back, will that allow James F1, DJ Danny to start to make their way, get closer to HK in that Red Bull, who is going to start feeling the effects of those worn tires. Half a second now is the gap between HK and James, along with the gap from James to Danny, but that one closed quickly. Danny showing great straight line speed with that Renault engine fitted in his yellow car. Murphy getting past Fairmoto is showing just hard tires. Probably not the compound to be on here as we head into the latter stages of this race. We're picking up a 3-second time penalty. He sees himself almost 10 seconds adrift the rest of the pack. Meanwhile, less than half a second now separates HK and James, and less than a second separates the top 3. So Kendo, these podium positions could swap here in an instant, and Miles has found himself about a second too far back of the Renault of DJ Danny.
Yeah, and when we've been talking about time penalties, currently the top 4 have not got a penalty at all. The closest that they have got, HK's got 1 warning, James has also got 1 warning, and DJ Danny hasn't actually got any warnings. Miles has got 1. Sir Sharks has a 5-second penalty from lap 10. So I don't know whether or not that has been served.
And he's just picked up another 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits there, so he might have taken liberties through the bus stop chicane. But could we see a move done here? DJ Danny now 3/10 and closing behind the Racing Pony. Might not have a look at a move through Eau Rouge, but he's going to certainly have a look down the Kemmel Straight. He's in the slipstream yet again. We saw him try to, as HK's actually left the session, so the Red Bull now is going to get swallowed up by these front 2. And, I mean, if things couldn't get any worse, we've probably said that about 3 times in regards to HK, if things didn't get any worse for Red Bull, they just now got worse. HK now falling down the order, which now puts James in the lead of this race, but DJ Danny is right down his gearbox. About half a second splits the 2 drivers there. James is actually getting great traction through here. He's gaining time on DJ Danny. Sir Sharks now passing HK, and you really feel for the guys down at Red Bull. It just has not been their weekend at all. It didn't get off to a great start last weekend. Their luck has continued here in Belgium. About a second now is the gap that James has pulled to Danny in front. Miles actually now catching DJ Danny as well. You wonder if something is going on in that Renault cockpit that Renault driver is having to deal with, because he's starting to lose touch with the leader of this race. And now Miles and that Alfa Romeo is starting to catch back up. Yet again, DRS open for both those drivers. They come down to Lasas. And it might be an opportunity if Miles can get good traction here, as he actually is going to lose a bucket of time heading through Lasas. I was going to say you might have had a look at a move, Kendo, but not on this occasion. And I don't think we'll be seeing anything more than a little bit of time gained here for the Renault.
No, and as you can see, you've got the fact that DJ Danny is currently very, very low on ERS compared to James, who has got quite a lot of energy harbs within the tank, so he can defend that position. Miles has got just a little bit more than Danny. That can be the difference between James pulling away and Miles catching up to Danny, all because the fact Danny is using up a lot of ERS during the race, which you can start to see he's starting, well on mine, he's putting himself down in low, so he's starting to charge up, ready for that attack on Rouge.
Miles has closed the gap to less than half a second, 4.5 tenths it is now. Alfa Romeo behind the Renault. Meanwhile, things have somewhat spread out further down the field. As I say that, Murphy is now overtaking the ghost car of HK. As I mentioned before, he's just had a dreadful day, but a good showing from the Alfa Romeo so far, but an even better one from the Racing Point, since James F1 still holding about a half a second gap. We have another yellow flag, and that is for Fairmoto. Down in 8th place, has lost it where we've seen one or two drivers in this race so far, as DJ Danny actually setting the fastest lap of the race, 2 tenths faster than HK's time of the 1:46.8. So DJ Danny now about 3 tenths of a second. He will have the traction going up on Rouge and Radion. 3 laps to go. As you see DJ Danny getting a little bit of a drift there, as you've seen multiple times. Will he have a go here? DRS open on the Renault. James gonna have to concede that lead position. DJ Danny back into the lead of this race. It won't be for long, because James F1 is certainly going to be having a look at him yet again. They're starting to pull away from Miles here. 7 tenths now the gap from the Racing Point to the Alfa Romeo. Liverpool Ewan has closed the gap to HK's ghost car. He will certainly be taking 6th place here in time. Fairmoto has gone into the pit lane onto the soft tires, potentially trying to get that fastest lap. You would assume Leclerc is going to have a little bit of time, about 3 laps to go here. 2.5 as some might say, to get past HK's ghost car, and Fairmoto might be in range as well, 31 seconds behind the Ferrari. But right now, we're still monitoring this battle for the podium positions. They've pulled away in convincing fashion from the rest of the pack. 5.4 seconds is Sharks off from DJ Danny's. Miles is going to have a little look here at the Racing Point and actually switch back, and they do make contact. Alfa Romeo forcing his way through and actually forcing the Racing Point off the track. They're certainly going to be having a look at that. Earlier, these two drivers scrapping last week, and you can certainly sense that these two have no love lost for each other, but that has opened up a 1.2 second gap for Danny at the front, allowing him to spread this gap even further. James F1 is certainly going to be having a little look now, as it's 3 tenths and closing now on the Alfa Romeo. So Sharks picking himself up a penalty. Murphy defending that inside line. DRS open for James, who sets actually a fastest middle sector, and will give a little nudge to Miles for his time, seeing him back into 2nd place. But that scrap right there might have just granted DJ Danny the win, barring anything unforeseen here in the final stages of this race. Really is starting to fan out. The HK could have had himself a chance at a win here at Spa, but unfortunately ended up leaving the session unable to return. He's gone all the way down into 7th place and will presumably get passed here by Leclerc in that Ferrari. So what turned into a great day, then a bad day, and now a okay day for Ferrari. We're now going to wrap things up here at Spa with about 2 laps here to go. James closing that gap actually to DJ Denny at the front. It was 1.3 at one point. It is now 0.8 of a second, and Miles has found himself 0.7, actually 0.6 now adrift of the Racing Point. So this front 3 starting to come together here in the last few laps of the race. James setting a 1:46.7, about 2 seconds faster than our previous fastest lap, as he tries to hunt down his first race win and prevent DJ Danny from taking back-to-back wins here to lead off the season. I think, Kendo, that this is going to be a race to the finish between these 3, and if not 3, surely James and Danny.
I was just about to say, because when you were asking between 3 to 2, I definitely think it's going to be a 2-horse race. I don't believe Miles has the ERS to be able to fight back. However, James has. So it's going to be all on Rouge who takes the victory. So both drives are well aware of this, and you can clearly see they are charging their ERS, ready to go up that famous bank for the last time.
Well, you saw there, Fairmoto pitting for the soft compound of tire a few laps ago, which has seen him relegated all the way to the bottom of the field, but doing exactly what Williams intended. It's the fastest lap here so far, with about a lap and a quarter to go as we head into the 3rd sector here. We'll come out on top here in round 2 from Spa. Renault leads. DJ Danny has had the lead twice here. This is the 2nd time he has had it. Miles showing actually great braking to get right onto the gearbox of the Racing Point. Both of them with DRS open. DJ Danny is going to be a hunted man into this final lap of the race. What can he do from that lead position? Half a second now, splitting the Renault from the Racing Point, who will certainly have the car cranked all the way up. You see it in to overtake. DRS open for the Racing Point. 2/10 is now the gap. Danny defending that inside, and he might still hang on to this, and they go wheel to wheel, and James makes slightly a little bit of contact. There's still wheel to wheel. James losing out in that battle, and now Miles is going to have himself a look. Danny with the inside line. James was ahead there for a second, but now it has taken the Alfa Romeo and put him right back in this conversation. James all over that Renault gearbox. We are in for an action-packed as James trying to get the inside line there, not prevent, as he's still now going to go wheel to wheel, and they might go 3 wide here. Is Miles going to have a little look at the Renault, and this actually is James is around and into the gravel. They went 3 wide there late in the middle sector, which has seen Racing Point, who was pushing maybe a little bit too hard there, head into the gravel. But that means, barring anything more from Miles in the Alfa Romeo, barring any time penalties that haven't been assessed yet, DJ Danny is going to start off the season right. He's going to start off the season with 2 wins in a row here at Spa. And TXT Miles in that 2nd place. Where will James finish? He'll finish in 3rd. We'll be waiting to see where Sir Sharks finish. He'll finish down in 5th place. So it's actually Alfa Romeo with the best team result here. James finishing down in 3rd. Miles in 2nd. Murphy in that 4th position. The Sharks down in 5th. Liverpool Ewan with 5 seconds tacked on to his time. We'll see himself relegated down to 8th place with HK actually on 21-lap-old tires, taking the mediums almost the race distance, finishing in 6th position. 7th place for Leclerc. Faramoto still yet to cross the line, will come in 9th place. And we lost 11 drivers here at Belgium, but DJ Danny, 2 wins to start the season. Well, for himself and for Renault, that is a great way to commence things here, but actually it might see Racing Point take the lead in the Constructors' Championship. We'll wait to get our podium drivers in here for a second. You saw a little bit of wing damage there for DJ Danny. You see a few front bits snapped off, but it's an all-British podium. And DJ Danny back-to-back wins, converting a win from 2nd position here. James F1 losing out on the final lap. Commiserations to him, but a good drive from Miles to keep things clean. And Kendo, if you want to get those podium guys in here, I can have a quick chat with them. You can see multiple drive, 33 seconds of time penalties for Liverpool U, and that might see him disqualified from this race, and Toro Rosso might walk home with no points. Serge Shark's almost on that 15-second boundary as well. He sees himself with 13 seconds, so what a way to close this one out, as we have DJ Danny in here now. Danny, 2 wins on the bounce, 2 wins to start the season. Gotta be feeling good so far.
It's not too bad. I mean, obviously first time crossing the line in 1st place, so that it's good to win on track. So that is nice. But yeah, it was a tough race. It's unfortunate for HK to not be able to show what he could have done by disconnecting, and so. But no, it was a tough race, and I think James and especially Miles, they kept the pressure on and just made sure I had to work for that one. I'm not sure exactly what happened at the end. I saw James spin, but yeah, I'm not sure, 100% sure what happened there.
Well, Miles, you might have had a better view of it. Tell us what happened in that final sector there on the final lap.
Well, I saw that James was on the outside, and I put my nose in the middle, but I had to pull out. But it looked like James's car was ghosted a little bit through Danny's car, so it might have been like a game lag there. But it was unfortunate on my part. That's what I saw.
Well, a great race from yourself, a very up and down race. I believe we did more laps under safety car conditions than we did actually racing. We ran out of safety cars there. In what part of the race did you saw just drivers dropping like flies? Did you just say, if I keep this one on track, I could be on for a fair bit of points here?
Well, I knew I wasn't as fast as them in the first sector because I kept them pulling away, so I just thought if I just stayed with them and see what happened further down in the midfield, then could be for a shot at second or maybe first. It was pretty tight at the end, but I don't know what happened further down the field. It just looked like every lap someone was retiring or something was happening, collisions, but overall it was a good race.
And Danny, were you able to get a decent view of the rather chaotic start at the beginning of the race? We saw cars 5 wide heading into La Sauce. I don't know if you were able to get a good look from that, either one of you, from your starting positions on the grid.
I was P2, so I wasn't looking in my mirrors. I was trying to slipstream James into the down the Camel Straight. So I wasn't looking in my mirrors then. But yeah, obviously the virtual safety car came out, which ruined that. So, but yeah, I did see on the mini map there's quite a big pile up.
Well, we have James in here now, and James, I guess, talk us through what exactly happened there at the end of the race. I do want to make it known. I do want to make it known, James. You haven't enabled your voice. Nobody on Earth can hear you.
You ever just...
Except the five of us in here. The five of us in here, we can hear you just fine. You sound great.
Why would you do that for me? It's okay. We're good now.
All right.
Yeah, literally just saved the RS behind Danny. I knew I was comfortable. It seemed that I had the better Sector 2 pace of, like, anybody. But then, obviously, Sector 1, Sector 3, if you've got somebody, like, anywhere near a second to you, there's just no chance you're going to pull away, ever. So, once Danny got past, just saved the RS. Knew I'd have a run, top of Radion, last lap. Went for it around the outside. Thought, you know what, I knew there was a chance I could have been, like, pushed out, obviously trying to go side by side through that chicane at the top of the hill, but I thought, nah, if I get my car at least there, then, you know, there's a chance to race side by side through it, which we did. And then obviously, like, the first part of the middle sector was absolutely wild, and then yeah, after Puon, had a run, was on overtake, was on the outside, Danny was obviously on the inside. Where it's the chicane, it swaps after, so I was on the outside, and for me, it just sort of like transpired that for the second part where I was on the inside, and we were both literally like pretty much side by side, dead on. Danny just sort of like takes the apex and yeah, just spun me out, and then from then on, sort of consigned to P3.
So did you not ghost into me when
no?
On your
what I will say is that you had a momentary blip where you sort of like went invisible, not ghosting, but straight up invisible for like, I mean, a very short amount of time, and that was as I was pulling alongside you before the first part of the corner.
Okay.
But then there was no ghosting for any other part. Obviously, I wish it, like, hindsight, I wish it had ghosted me or ghosted you or whatever, because then we still would have been side by side. But yeah, so there was no ghosting for me, and yeah, just took the apex, and that was it. I was round, and just, yeah, completely gutted, because I know I had the fuel saved and the ERS saved, and yeah, so just sort of ruined a good finale.
I was on about 18%, something like that.
Yeah,
So,
literally, going on to the last lap, I had 60, so I knew that, like, I could even run bloody the hot lap for the majority if I wanted. Yeah, I'd say purposefully saved the RS, pretty much, like, one of the few times I actually did stuff right, and yeah, so that happened.
Because I thought you got tapped by Miles or something. Because obviously I know we were going side by side, and I knew Miles was very close behind.
Bloody Miles, where you at? Miles, show yourself.
I'm here.
You shamble, man. Oh, that second to last lap. I was so like, no, please, have mercy. I was like, don't do it.
Yeah.
And you
I
just
saw a
did
gap,
it.
and then we almost lost touch with Danny. I think that cost us like 2
yeah.
seconds or something.
I saved the RS for that whole lap just because I
And that's
knew
what
it was
enabled
like...
me to catch back up, because I had the RS spare anyway. So I was like, okay, that'll do. That's the only reason I knew that you were sort of like struggling, is because obviously, otherwise there's no way I'd have caught you on that second to last lap. So I knew you must have saved it somewhat.
Yeah, I went medium down the Camel, and then none for the whole of the second sector, because I was like, I knew that if you were in a second that you had a chance, and I knew that
exactly.
because it was the last lap, you probably would have gone for a move where you got the inside, or so I was just like, right, I'll save up. But then in hindsight, I probably should have gone higher modes, because I probably would have stayed out of DRS. But
yeah, no, definitely, no, you definitely would have.
Alrighty,
So,
well,
yeah.
Danny, head to Spain next week. Fancy your chances making it 3 out of 3?
Spain's not my strongest track, so we shall see. But I mean, I think the aim is probably just to get top 5, maybe on the podium. That's like that's still the target for me, because obviously with others dropping out. I think I've got quite a healthy lead, 2 races in, but we shall. It's just about consolidating points at this stage.
Alrighty, well, you three put on quite the show here today. We'll be looking forward to it. This time next week, we will find ourselves in Spain, Barcelona. And until then, we will see everybody in Barcelona.